This is Andrew with the Chosen Prime with a video preview, some very early test shots from Zeta Toys. This is ZB-02. These test shots are so early in the cycle that I actually don't have their code names, price points, or release dates. But you can see here that this is their take on a Masterpiece styled version of the Aerialbot known as Air Raid. And they're done by the same design team that did ToyWorld's Constructor, which was ToyWorld's version of Masterpiece Devastator. So overall size-wise here, this version of Air Raid is about 8 inches at the top of his head here, and 9 and change to the top of his nose cone. But when we come to the jet is a full 12.5 inches long, and then 9¼ inches as far as the wingspan. So these are very large Masterpiece Seeker size versions of the Aerialbots here. Nice and solid even in this test shot form. And you know, being test shots, a lot about these figures can change. Plastic, paint, details, accessories, tolerances. But let's go ahead and take a closer look here at ZB-02. Taking a closer look here at ZB-02. You can see they've done a nice job of giving us a Masterpiece style version of G1 Air Raid. And how overall he's very clean in his overall look. But then matches enough of the Air Raid design to kind of work as a Masterpiece style version of Air Raid here. He does more so match the toy version of Air Raid overall, but then, you know, as for being a Masterpiece combiner figure here, he's pretty clean and very solid for a test shot. I mean, this, I'm pleasantly surprised that this initial effort from them in their production have produced something this good even in the test shot form here. If you don't want his nose cone to be kind of facing up like that, you can pull apart the jet canopy here and fold this in, and you get a little bit better, you know, cleaner backpack there if you like. I personally like it with the nose cone kind of extended. It looks a bit better to me like that. But as far as overall posability, his head here is on a ball joint, so he can look side to side, look up, look down. The shoulders here can rotate around fully. The arm can lift up and down. He does have a bicep swivel. The elbow can bend 90 degrees. The hands here are similar to Constructor hands here, where they are individually jointed fingers with a ball jointed thumb, and then the wrist can rotate. He can rotate at his waist, nice and stiff. The legs here are on a soft detented ratchet to lift up and look down. You can, if you lift this piece forward, you can bring his leg pretty far forward, pretty far back. Nice thigh swivel, ratcheted knees, nice and stiff. The feet here are on ball joints, so you have ankle articulation there. He does have a heel spur. As far as the wings on his legs here, you have multiple options as far as display. You can see that they're on a hinge here, as well as a pivot point there, and then this inner part of the wing is also on a double hinge. And so if you want to, you can either just remove individual missiles here from this rack. You can remove the entire rack just on a peg. And so you can fold up the wings multiple ways if you like. Or if you want to just remove them entirely, you can just unpeg this from each side and get a much cleaner look for his legs, more kind of animation accurate version. So you can either, again, have them stored fully on his legs if you like, or you can kind of clean them up. As far as his overall posability options, just like ZB-01, he's got a nice range of movement here. You can get him in some fairly dynamic poses, even though he is part of a combiner overall, and you can hold them with his different joints. And then just like ZB-01, it does come with a weapon that's got a little channel here in the gun that matches a channel here in his hand. It's just a matter of kind of lining that up, closing the fingers in, and then you can hold this weapon. So, you know, again, another great Masterpiece styled version of an Aerialbot from Zeta Toys. So let's go ahead and take a look at his transformation into his jet mode. With this being an early test shot, I unfortunately don't have instructions, but his transformation is fairly intuitive. So we'll start by coming to his arms here. And we want to open up this panel at the lower arm here. And it'll hinge open. We want to close up the fist and the thumb, flip the hand inwards, and then you can see there is a swing mechanism in there that you can close in the arm, and then just close the panel. And just make sure you line up the tabs when you're going back into robot mode so that they're locked into place, because like here, if we look, if I open this panel, there are several channels and tabs that line up and lock everything into place. So just make sure that everything's lined up correctly before you close up the panel for robot mode. But let's go ahead and close up the fist, rotate it in, hinges in, and then make sure to rotate so that the tamper graphs are on the outside. Come to his torso, take his head and open this panel. And if you look, it is actually hollow inside of his chest. And there's little panels here. So what actually ends up happening is you end up pushing up on these side panels. You can see how they collapse inwards towards the center, making room for the arms. So we want to do that on both sides. And now they take these little panels here on the side, his hips, and fold them inwards on each side, up and inwards. And then the arms themselves will hinge all the way down and lock into place, being flush against his sides. Take his head, flip it in, and close this panel back up. And that's his torso mostly ready to go. So we can come down to the legs. If we lift up on this hinge here, there's a hinge here, and you can see that his legs are hollow, similar to kind of Combiner Wars. So come to his foot, flip in the heel spur, and then hinge this down into the leg, and it should work on a double hinge so that it sits nice and flush like that. Take the leg, and it will also hinge back like this, and it's a matter of just closing the panel back up for now. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. Hinge open this panel, flip in the heel spur, flip in the toe. Make sure to use that double hinge to push the foot further back into his leg there. Again, take this leg and hinge it down till it locks, and then close this down. And then temporarily go ahead and sandwich the legs together. We can come to the front of the jet. These little pieces here will fold down and lock onto his sides, kind of filling it out. The jet canopy here will actually untab from itself in the front here and bring this forward. But before we peg it in, we need to kind of move this landing gear out of the way. So, and this is a little tricky. I don't know if there's a little trick to it. But there's a panel here with the landing gear that we need to move out of the way so that we have room for that arm to come down and for this to lock into place. And now we can take the landing gear and close that panel again. And it's spring loaded, and I'll show it off in a second. But it's kind of hard to move out of the way. But that's the front of the jet. And then there's this little panel here that normally is folded back for robot mode. We want to come up and use it, and it'll cover and kind of fill in that space. So take these leg panels here, and they will hinge forward further up onto the legs here, and they will actually lock and snap into place like that. And before we do the other side, we want to bring this piece down. And if we look, there's actually a peg hole and some other little pieces alongside this little armature that you want to make sure that are pegged into the leg panels there before you fully sandwich everything down. So I got that one pegged in there. Now we can bring this forward. And just make sure everything sandwiches together. And again, that those legs panels here fully locked down. This will come down. And then make sure to squeeze these panels together here in order to get clearance for the this wing part to kind of go around. And it is a bit challenging to get it lined up just right, but once you do, it will lock the back of the jet into place like so. We can come to these wings, straighten them out on each side, straighten out the missiles. There's a little tab on the underside of each piece here. We want to just make sure that this lines up and just kind of lock it into place. Stretch out these little panels, these little wings in the back. And here we've got ZB-02 in his jet mode. Very nice homage to the original F-15 Eagle that the G1 version of Air Raid was. This is actually very similar to a Masterpiece Seeker, and we'll see that in a little bit. But you can see overall it's very clean. This underside, really no kibble to speak of. Very nice. He does have some nice panel line kind of sculpting throughout. He does have some tamper graphs here and there, no danger, no step, stuff of that nature. You see he's got his little bit of stripes here. He does have a working cockpit window here that you can open up and see the cockpit. And he does have landing gear. So the ones on the wings are actually quite easy. So coming to this part right here, this panel opens up. We can swing forward the wheel and then bring it back down. And that's his back. landing gear. But the front one is a bit trickier due to how it's got a spring mechanism. So what I actually recommend is you're going to want to unpeg the front of the vehicle here to open up this panel, and then we want to flip out that the arm, and you can see here once I get it around, get clearance, it's got a little spring to it, so that makes it a little bit it makes it nice, but it's a little bit of a challenge. So then now we can close it and bring this back down and sandwiching the jet. And here he is with his landing gear. Very, very nice version of Air Raid here. Very massive, just cool all around. So now I'll go ahead and I'll show off his leg mode transformation. With this being a test shot, I unfortunately don't have instructions nor more details on his combined mode. I also don't have any additional pieces. I don't have any feet or hands to kind of show off with this guy. But from all appearances, it looks like the leg bots for this Superion and the arm bots are just arms. They're not Scramble City. They can't be interchanged. So I'm pretty sure this version of Air Raid is only a leg because he doesn't have the same kind of elbow mechanism that's present on ZB-01, their version of Fireflight. And also I'll try my best to show off what his general kind of chunk looks like. I'm going to recommend, just for cleanliness, to just remove the wings for now. You could leave them on for the mode, but it's just kind of going to look better with these removed. So we'll come to the back canopy here. We want to split the legs just enough so that we can bring up this armature onto his back. We can repeg the legs back together. Lift up on this canopy part, and then make sure that you reach under here to get this little panel that covers up that gap over. Bring this up, and then again lift open this panel that's got the landing gear, so you have clearance to bring this up and over. You can collapse that panel again, and it'll peg the this part here will peg in together like that. We can come to the canopy part up here and grab the two halves of it like this. And you see now there's now a space for the tip of the jet to be pushed in. We can bring that down. We can bring this down. We can hook the back of the jet with the front and just kind of get this laid down. And then again, I'm not quite sure of the final position of all these different parts, but you can take this entire chunk here and it can hinge down lower onto his back so that it's the top part's hidden there, and you can take these little wings that are normally on the sides and hinge them onto his back. And again, I don't have a foot or a hand or any way of knowing how it's supposed to connect either up top here, because I know the Constructor bots from ToyWorld, this was a unique connection for each leg, and the same thing with the feet. So I'm not quite sure what the final is, but you can see that this final version that we'll get, it's going to be a nice big leg for their version of Superion for Zeta Toys. So it should be pretty nice. So let's go and take a look at comparisons here for ZB-02. Remote comparisons between ZB-02 and ZB-01, their Air Raid and Fireflight. This is them with their wings removed and weapons removed to kind of be a little bit more animation style. And again, you can see that they are different enough from one another, and representative of Air Raid and Fireflight to be Masterpiece versions here. And it's just nice that you can have options as far as removing, the leg wings and such, and just really cool looking versions of the Aerialbots here. And jet mode comparisons, you again can see just how well they stack up next to each other here in their jet modes. Look like their G1 and real world counterparts here in their jet modes. The solid, overall Masterpiece style releases here from Zeta Toys. Comparing ZB-02 with some other Masterpiece Autobots, we've got Masterpiece MP10, Optimus Prime, Masterpiece Ratchet, and Masterpiece Wheeljack. They're all characters that appeared in the original episode that the Aerialbots debuted in. And you can see that this version of Air Raid here is just slightly shorter head to toe than this version of Ratchet, but stylistically they match. These Aerialbots from Zeta Toys match this Masterpiece aesthetic and size, not only in the robot modes, but then once we get the final Zeta Toys Superion, we'll get a nice big massive version of that Autobot combiner. Comparing ZB-02 here with some other third-party combiner figures. On the left we've got Unique Toys ghaz'ranka, which was their version of the Combaticon known as Swindle. And on the right here we've got ToyWorld Unearth, which is their version of the Constructicon Scavenger. Now the two on the right are from essentially the same design team, hence why they're similar height, similar build, overall kind of look very close to each other. And the one right here is from Unique Toys, a different company. He's about a head or so shorter than the Zeta and ToyWorld efforts. But you can see here, as this set of different Masterpiece style combiner pieces, they all look great. But the Aerialbot effort here from Zeta Toys is definitely a little bit taller and it's going to match up a little bit better with figures like Constructor. Comparing ZB-02 with an official Masterpiece Seeker, you can see here in the robot modes, they're essentially the same overall height. Skywarp here is just a little bit taller than this version of Air Raid, but then build-wise, as far as their overall skeleton, they're similar size and scale and look good side by side. And then once we get to their jet modes and jet mode comparison, and here's where you really see that ZB-02 stacks up jet-wise to an official Masterpiece Seeker. Just how large and how detailed it is, and just, you know, even though this is a combiner here on the left, they've made a really great looking version of this F-15 Eagle for a Masterpiece styled Aerialbot. Just, I mean, kind of crazy that how close these two look as far as scale and design. And another great release here from Zeta Toys. And a final comparison here is with some other takes, recent takes on Air Raid. We've got Combiner Wars Deluxe Class Air Raid. Here we've got TFC Toys Eagle, which was their take on the character. And here is Zeta Toys ZB-02. And you can see where we've kind of come from, you know, a very simple retail figure to an initial effort from third party to give us a combining version of Air Raid for new collections. And here's this nice Masterpiece style version of Air Raid here. And even in test shot form, this just feels like a much better figure than even what the final version of Eagle here in the middle came up with. Yes, this is meant for classics, this is Masterpiece style, but just even test shot, this feels so much better and looks so much better than Eagle here in the middle, that it's kind of crazy to think that even after a couple years, that these companies can continue to improve upon it and give us a really nice, excellent version of Air Raid for collections, and really give us a Masterpiece style version of this Aerialbot. And now jet mode comparisons. Again, you can see just how large ZB-02 is compared to even the TFC offering, how just accurate, how much better this looks. You know, after a couple of years, it's how they were able to make a much better looking jet, far less kibble than even the TFC effort. And just, you know, overall, a very impressive and rightly so, Masterpiece version of the original G1 Air Raid here. Some final thoughts here on Zeta Toys ZB-02, or their take on a Masterpiece styled version of the Aerialbot known as Air Raid. Just like ZB-01, their take on Fireflight, we're getting another great rendition of the original G1 character here in a nice Masterpiece scale. This design from Zeta Toys, you know, looks like what the what a Masterpiece version of this character looked like, matching both the toy as well as the cartoon. And again, this is an early test shot, so engineering, plastic, paint, details, accessories could all change before the final retail release. So a lot of things can happen, but even in this early test shot form, this is a really nice solid figure. It builds off of some initial engineering that they did with ToyWorld's Constructor, which is our understanding is the same group that did their Devastator. ToyWorld's Devastator is the same ones doing the Zeta Toys set. And you know, it's just a really cool looking version of this Aerialbot, and it's nice to see these nice big versions of these G1 characters. You know, and he's got a really nice jet mode. Just really stands out next to other Masterpiece Seekers. So again, with no pre-orders available, due to it being such an early test shot, we do recommend checking back on the Chosen Prime website and Facebook page to see when these guys got up for pre-order. Because if you want to add some Masterpiece Aerialbots to your collection, these guys could easily fit the bill, so take care.